What's up YouTube, and welcome to my channel Lucas Designs. Here in this tutorial I will teach you how to create this pair of scissors as a flat design in Adobe Illustrator. Turn your layer into a template. Create a new layer and call it Outlines. For the outline, we'll use a black stroke with rounded corners. Using the pen tool, trace over this part of the scissors using straight lines and not worrying about curvature just yet. Using the curvature tool, click and drag in the middle to make a nice bend. Then using the direct selection tool, click on the anchor point and drag it in so it's nice and smooth. Make sure to close your shape like this. Then, using the shape builder tool, click in the parts and then minus it away. This creates separate shapes like this with closed paths. So, using the pen tool, you want to begin tracing the outlines of this shape. Nice and steady, does it? Here I have gone into outline mode using Ctrl or Command Y to be as accurate as possible. Use a circle to save time.
Music is intense.
So here you can see I have all of the shapes as their own individual elements, not connected to each other. All nice and separate, just like that. As you can see, I have made a new layer and put it underneath the outline layer, call it base color. Select the outline layer and pressing Alt, click and drag down into the base layer. This will create a duplicate of it underneath. Unlock the reference image and using the eyedropper tool, select the colors on the image. Make sure you do this in your base layer. Using the Add Anchor Point tool, make 2 marks, and using the Direct Selection tool, just delete that incision, as so. Now, using the Width tool, I'm going to click and just drag it out, just so it meets the endpoint like this, and then drag those sections in. This just gives a bit of flair and makes the line work look a tad more interesting. So for this part, I'm going to bring up my shader brush panel, which you can download from the internet. I'll probably leave a link in the description. And I'm also going to need my stroke panel, which I couldn't see on the screen, so just go into Window and Stroke to bring that up. Then just dragging those panels over. You need those side by side, just like that. Then selecting an object, click on the Draw Inside mode. This will bring up a lovely rectangle just around it. And this creates a clipping mask inside of that element. So now I'm going to make sure I have stroke selected, just like that. And using the 3 little bars, I'm going to send it to hue, saturation and brightness, and just drag down the brightness. Select the brush stroke. Now using the pen tool, I'm just going to imagine where a shadow would be, so clicking on the outside and then just dragging up like that, and then selecting one of the brushes. This just gives the piece a nice bit of shading. And I'm also going to make a line here. This is for one of the highlights. Selecting that colour again. Increasing the stroke weight. Now I do need to make it brighter. So just going to increase the brightness on here. It says B for brightness. Sometimes it doesn't always select well, but that's okay. And it's good to just play around with what texture suits this the best. Just going to decrease the opacity just to get that nice blend mode in. So I'm going to select the next bit. I'm also going to go click on Draw Inside. And like the other, I've selected it by eyedropping. And I'm turning down the brightness of it. Making a line with the pen tool. Selecting the brush. Just as before. Go. As you can imagine by now, I'm just going to select white this time. Bring down the stroke weight and just decrease that opacity. Just gives it a nice subtle highlight. And I come out of Draw Inside mode. I'm just going to continue this process. I'm going to draw inside this shape here. Now I'm just eyedropping that colour. Saves me some time. Decreasing the stroke weight just like that. Nice and easy. Now we're really starting to build some depth to our piece. So once again, draw inside. Now I'm going to make a shadow here, so I just decrease the brightness of that red colour. And then using the pen tool again, just following the curvature of the black outline mainly. I've just gone into Command Y outline mode then. This is if you have trouble selecting it, you can always go into outline mode, click on the stroke and off you go. Now I'm just tinkering with with that dark red, seeing what colour really suits it. Now I've also selected a slightly brighter red. Now I believe it's going to be for the white highlight. I'm using a slightly different brush here, one a bit less condensed. Now I've selected that piece, got my draw inside mode ready. Now I can just eyedropper that stroke using Command Y or Control Y. And then once again, just following the black outline of that stroke, just clicking and dragging. Just giving the piece a bit of texture. I'm going to make the highlight here, so I'm just going to click and drag, just imagining where the light would be. Like that. And just going to decrease that stroke weight, make it more condensed. This is looking good. Now, I've deselected it, and I think that's all of the shading done. That's all of the necessary texturing. So now we're going to move on to the shadow and highlights layer. So I've just made a new layer above the stippling layer. And this is going to really add some popping white highlights and some dark shadows. So just using the circle tool now, I'm just going to zoom in make a quite small circle, like so. Now have it selected, and using the A or the direct selection tool, click on that anchor point and drag it out. Delete that other anchor point, and it should say intersect. It didn't say intersect, but it will say intersect where you bring it up to there. Now select it, press Alt and rotate, and bring them together. Select both with the direct selection tool and just press Ctrl or Command J to join it together, and then create this create this as an art brush. And make sure the method is tints. This means that the colour is changeable. And we're just going to call this smooth brush, which you can always find in your brush. Just go to window and brush if you can't find it. So let's just imagine where a light source. So this is the sun. This is the sun here. And just imagine now that I'm drawing, light is coming down from that area, if that makes sense. So using the pen tool, I'm going to click and make a nice curvature like this. Just press Shift X to change it to a stroke. Change it to white fill. I'm going to select that brush we made. It creates a nice white highlight like this. And we will decrease the opacity of it. I'm just going to make a few more for now. So I'm just going to click and drag. Selecting that white highlight once again. Now this is going to be more of a shadow, but you can see what I'm doing. I'm just using the pen tool to make some curvature, like so. And there's going to be a nice big highlight up here. Just click. Now you can use the brush tool, just B, and just start drawing them, but if that doesn't always work, I find the pen tool is always the easiest way to go. Now, I believe we're starting to build a bit more depth to our piece. So let's select these points and just going to bring down the opacity, just so it's not so glaringly white. Same here. Same for these two. Just bringing down that opacity. And bring down the opacity right down for this one. And now I'm just going to make some more white highlights. So using the pen tool, I'm going to click, I'm going to make a sort of triangle shape here. I made that a white, just made that nice and white like that. Just managing a bit of white hitting that. And I'm going to do the same for this side, just make a nice triangle, just like so. Now, I'm actually selected a black fill. I'm going to make a shadow here because that part of the scissor is on top of the other part. Just making that a nice round corner, selecting it and just bringing down the opacity. Just gives a bit more of a 3D element to our piece. I'm also adding a darker bit of triangle shading. Illuminati confirmed, indeed. Bring that opacity down. It's good. Now I believe I'm just making a black low light here, just to give it some contrast, a bit more depth. And I think again, same up here. Try to keep my highlights on one side and my shadows on the opposite side. This way it's quite hard to mess up. As we zoomed out here, you can see how it pops, but we're not done yet. We do need to make a background layer, so it's not just on white. So I'm going to make a layer underneath all the other layers and call it background. Now using the rectangle tool, I'm just going to drag a rectangle over the canvas. Then using the eyedropper tool, I'm just going to select one of the reds, and it's going to make it a bit of a brighter red for a bit more depth. I'm going to lock this selection. So once you have your piece like this, I've got everything locked but the outline layer and the base layer. So just click and just drag that. You're holding Alt and Shift. Go to Object, Path and Outline Stroke. Then change the fill color to black. This will change everything to black, just like this. Then in the Pathfinder panel, just here, or you can find it using Window and Pathfinder. Pathfinder. Just going to unite it together. This makes it one entire shape. I'm going to select this, and now using the eyedropper tool, just going to click on the background image like so, and over here it says hold Shift to bring up alternate color UI, and just bring down the brightness. This keeps the saturation in the piece, and I'm just going to select a nice darker tone. And now have it selected and just drag it in place. Control X and put it in the right layer. You can just press Control Shift V to just place in, you know what I mean, put it there. See, it just gives a bit of 3D element, just a nice finish to the piece. Thank you for watching. Make sure you have an attempt and let me know how it goes.